Howdy everyone, welcome to our Q&A. Massive shout out to all of you for asking really good questions. We're going to start off with the first video question we got, which was from Emery.
As a fellow plant-based eater, I want to know what you think of PETA. Personally, I'm not a big fan because they disregard human rights a lot of the time, but I really want to know what you think.
Well, I'm not going to lie to my audience, I don't really know everything about PETA and the organisation, but I do think it's good in theory. There's nothing wrong with an animal rights movement. I mean, PETA, by its own acronyms, is People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, and I don't have any problem with that. The way that animals are treated in factory farms and the way we treat them as a society is fucked up as it is. So I think it's a good thing that there's movements out there that actually strive for the ethical treatment of them and for us to view animals with more respect, decency, and kindness and treat them with love and compassion. But I also feel like if you're vegan or vegetarian for moral reasons, then affiliating yourself with the group PETA is nothing more than hypocritical because, as you mentioned yourself, Emery, they treat humans like total shit, which is incredibly odd when they're trying to humanize animals when they don't really care about humans that much. So right off the bat, that doesn't really make much sense. Why we're gonna humanize them to humans if we don't like the humans? But with an organization like PETA, it's no fucking surprise. You can find it out there. There's proof that PETA themselves hurt animals and mistreat them. There's records that show that they've murdered animals and have a body count for it, much like the factory farming industry that they're against. And there honestly needs to be more animal rights organizations calling out groups like PETA because there's nothing wrong with the idea of treating animals fairly, but we can't have groups like PETA out there that are the spearhead of how we should treat animals ethically. So it's not even hypocritical that they dehumanize and treat humans like shit, and they compare animals to humans because they don't treat the animals any fucking better. They're honestly, and I'm not breaking any new grounds by saying this, they're an extreme organization, and the values that they have aren't met. In theory, there's nothing wrong with them wanting to preach against animal suffering and all of that, but if you're really against that, but you support a movement like PETA, that's incredibly hypocritical. BRBM Car asks, what do you think of anarchism? And I mean social anarchism, not anarcho-capitalism. To be honest, I don't think of anarchism that much. I don't really know much about the subject. Not gonna lie, and it's not much of a surprise if you've seen the video that Cameron responded to, that when I made that video, I didn't know jack shit about anarchism. I had an incredibly limited knowledge, and I essentially knew the Cliff Notes version of an entirely nuanced subject. So for the time being, I'm fairly indifferent to the idea of anarchism, but I don't really care that much if someone wants to call themselves an anarchist. I'm not going to pass judgment because I don't really know shit about it. So I know that the fact that I responded to Cammy Abams may have given the impression that I have some sort of an interest in anarchism, but I honestly don't, at least for the time being. DIABETICLION, my homie, the same guy who did my icon and this thumbnail, God bless to him, asked 5 questions. 1. If you had complete control over Better Call Saul Season 4, what direction would you take this show in? Spoilers for those who haven't seen Better Call Saul, please skip to this time code if you don't want this spoiled for you. But honestly speaking, if I had to take any sort of control of Better Call Saul with the current direction it's in, with them kind of hinting at the fact that Nacho may be the reason that Hector's in a wheelchair, I think that would be an interesting outlook. One thing I've always wondered in Better Call Saul is what Saul meant when he said, Lolo didn't send you? So the direction of the show that I'd probably take it in at this point of the show, at least in that storyline, and to try and connect why Jimmy's so afraid of the cartel, is I would make Jimmy involved in some way. Maybe get someone like Huel to be the person who does the slip. Maybe make him sort of implicated in it and a little bit paranoid of the idea of the cartel going after him. And making it a type of situation where Mike legitimately has to discuss it with Gus. Are you okay with us doing it? And Gus kind of tones it down from murdering him to putting him in a wheelchair because, as we know, Gus is smart, Gus is calculating, and Gus wants to see Hector suffer. So I feel like if I were running the show, I would make Gus personally make a compromise. And for the record, these aren't theories of the show, so if it turns out that this doesn't happen in the show, I know, this is just how I would personally do things. Question 2. What's the most interesting historical event to you, or some of them? Jack the Ripper. I personally find Jack the Ripper to be incredibly interesting. The only thing that we honestly do know is that there was a guy in London who killed a bunch of people and he called himself Jack the Ripper. But as far as the identity goes, I just think it's interesting he was able to get away with it. And I know that part of the reason he was able to get away with it was due to the fact that there wasn't enough forensic evidence as there is nowadays. If Jack the Ripper did the exact same thing in the exact same circumstances that he did now, he would be caught instantly, let's be real. And I feel like the reason he wasn't caught was purely luck, and that's what I find really interesting about him. How do you feel about superheroes being called a fascist concept? Do you think some heroes like Superman could be considered socialist? Do you think the recent surge of popularity in superheroes is related to our society's changing ideals? I can see the idea of superheroes being a bit of a fascist concept. They're better than us. They get to choose whether or not we go to jail despite the fact that they don't really have any sort of authority. With that said, I do feel like Superman could be socialist because, unlike in the other cases, Superman is superior to people, but Superman isn't a person, he's an alien. And he uses all of the powers that are considered perfectly normal in Krypton for good in our world, and he uses it to do the right thing. So I could see him as socialist. As for the correlation of Nazism kind of becoming more accepted and right-wing people becoming a bit more accepted and dismissed in our society, I feel like it's a possibility, but I also feel like it could be a coincidence, so I don't know. I just think the idea is interesting personally. I don't really have any solidified opinion. 4. If you had to become an animal other than human, what animal would you be? I would be a cat. Cats are my favourite animal, and I love cats, and I would love to coexist with them and just... I love them. They're great. 5. Since you're vegetarian now, what's your opinion on zoos? Should they be illegal? Well, actually, and I know I haven't discussed this viewpoint on my channel, but anyone who knows me personally might know that I actually don't like zoos, and I never really have. I don't like the idea of zoos, of animals being locked up for us to basically look at them in entertainment. I think that's a bad idea, and I also feel like it's not really something the animals really enjoy, being taken away from their habitat and basically being forced to be entertainment for us. Obviously, I don't think everyone who goes to a zoo is an animal abusing piece of shit, but by the same regard, that doesn't exempt the fact that I do have stipulations with the idea of zoos. Ian Bowman asks, so are you still an anti-feminist? No, not anymore. Not since I was 14, no. I became a feminist when I was 15 years old. I kind of stopped using the label because I didn't really understand the subject too well. Recently, I've started calling myself a feminist again because I've actually looked into the subject a bit more. And I agree with feminist ideals, so I would definitely identify myself as a feminist now, so far from an anti-feminist nowadays. Plus, I criticize the fuck out of anti-feminists anyway. What do you think you would do if you met libertarian socialist rants in real life? I don't know, I don't really hold any resentment towards them. You know, I'm just kind of indifferent to them, so if I met him in real life, it wouldn't be like a spectacular event. Justin Aldridge, what is your ultimate example of the definition of irony? I kind of have an answer for this, but the problem is that irony and hypocrisy are kind of intertwined. It's a bit difficult to decipher them. But I'll just say one. I think it's rather ironic that a lot of ranters will complain about guilt by association, but by the same regard, will guilt by associate people like me for associating with Cloud9. I've always thought that was quite funny since, you know, we can't lump people together, but ranters always fucking do that, so. Kai's Review asks, hi Lachlan, are there any movies, shows, bands, etc. that you love but you find the rest of the fanbase to be frustrating or obnoxious? Movies and shows, I would say, not really in its entirety. I mean, I do have criticisms with some of the fan bases that I'm a part of, but it's not to the extent where I'm gonna lose sleep over it or get frustrated by them. But as for bands, I would definitely say I really fucking hate rap fans with a passion for the most part. If you ever see the way they handle, like, beef between people in the rap genre, they're so fucking immature about it, and it's really funny to watch them get all ass hurt about it. And of course, I don't really like a lot of fans of Eminem, which might sound a bit strange because, I mean, fucking pretty much everyone likes Eminem, with a few exceptions, but he's a popular rapper is what I'm getting at. But I feel like fans who act like Eminem is this holy savior who can do no wrong despite the fact that Eminem himself has admitted he's wrong at times is a bit silly. I just feel like it's kind of in the majority of finding an Eminem fan who can be a little bit overly enjoying of him. I also have an issue with Smiths fans. I love the Smiths myself. I think their music's great. I think Morrissey's a good lyricist. I think Johnny Marr's a good composer. But I feel like people who hang on to Morrissey's every word can be quite annoying. I don't mean people that like Morrissey or even like him a lot, but I'm mainly referring to people that will excuse every fucked up thing he says. Like the fact that he's really against Tories like Margaret Thatcher, David Cameron and all of that, but has admitted that he almost voted for UKIP because he likes Nigel Farage. And then there's his thoughts on immigration, and then there's his thoughts that Chinese people are subspecies, and then there's one, which I'm not sure how vegans might feel, but I think that his idea that meat eating is equivalent to pedophilia is fucking ridiculous. So I feel like Eminem and Morrissey fans, some of them can hang on to their every words. There's nothing wrong with liking them or even liking them a lot and having a lot of appreciation for them, but once you get to the stage of being blind and naive to the wrongdoings they do, is when it gets a little bit too crazy for me. Are there any people or things that you love but you are really tired of having to defend? This may be an underwhelming answer, but I honestly can't think of any. A lot of the time I'm a very passionate person for the stuff I defend, and a lot of the stuff I do defend I usually don't get tired of defending. Marbles asks, can you name 3 YouTubers you can whip in a fight and 3 you don't think you can? I know you said 3, but I'm gonna name 2 and then kind of give a half answer. Vegan Gains and Rant Ant. Both are strong mofos that I don't think I could take in a fight. And the third one would be anyone like them. If you had one wish that only lasted 24 hours, what would it be? Probably something meaningless. I don't want to really do something that's going to be great if it only lasts for like a day. So it'd probably be something dumb like try out a drug because all the effects would just go away the next day. I'd have no withdrawal. I'd be perfectly fine. So I'd probably just go all out. And then Marbles is self-promoting. Sinister Advent comes out June 1st. Check it out, everyone. Megadupe TV asks, who are your favorite YouTubers? I don't really want to name my friends, so if I can pick like a popular YouTuber, I would definitely say that I like Red Letter Media, but generally speaking, I don't really watch YouTubers that much, at least not at the moment. Who are the worst YouTubers? Anyone on my respondent chopping block. Will you re-upload the video that Libertarian Socialist Rants responded to? I honestly would, and I have no problem with re-uploading it. The only problem is, I honestly don't have the file. As Micah's Island would say, I lost the file. But it's on a computer with viruses on it. I'm not in possession of it, and I haven't gotten around to actually sorting it out yet. And by sorting it out means getting the files. However, if anyone does have the video downloaded, which I could sort of see being a possibility given how popular Kamiyabam's video was, and I'm pretty fucking certain Cameron would have the file, I would have no problem whatsoever re-uploading the video on my archive channel. With that said, just to hammer it down to everyone, if you do have any video by me that isn't on my archive channel, that isn't up on that channel, and it was deleted off my main channel, hit me up. Private message me, and I'll be open to posting it on. Mortal Human asks, how would you say your taste in things such as movies and music has evolved over the years? Honestly, really not that much. A lot of the movies that I liked when I was younger, I still like nowadays. My only thing is I've become a bit more noticeable at noticing flaws. I don't like to be a nitpick, but, you know, there's certain things I can notice, but I'm really not a critical person. I can enjoy a popcorn flick, a movie that's dumb fun. And the same goes for music, I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of music that people consider like pop trash that I'll admit honestly isn't that bad. So I would say my music taste honestly really hasn't changed over the years. Could the same be said for your YouTube content? I would say that my YouTube content has changed vastly over the years. I feel like I became more mellow. I feel like I became a lot more better at making videos. I feel like I learned a lot of mistakes that most people in their adulthood on here tend to find out. So I've kind of managed to stop doing things at such a young age, just to self-wank for a moment. But I'm pretty satisfied with my YouTube content. Niall Hagen, What is your favorite video game franchise? The Dead Rising franchise. Dead Rising. I haven't played the third or the fourth game, but I've seen gameplay of the third game, and I think it looks like a pretty good game. I played the first game and the second game, and I think they're pretty fucking fun to play, so I'm definitely gonna go with that franchise. And if you haven't played them, then I highly recommend it. Nick Monkton. How would you react if you saw the Amazing Atheist rolling towards you? Pity, if I'm honest. He's just pathetic. Paper Doll Gun Mall. Compared to how you used to be, anti-fem and whatnot, how much do you think you've changed and what arguments led you to the light? I feel like I've changed a lot. I mean, I really don't feel like I was a piece of shit when I was an anti-feminist. I just feel like I was a misinformed kid. Thankfully, I got out of the anti-feminism stuff right before everyone became alt-right and shitty. As for how much I feel like I've changed, I feel like I tend to understand issues that I used to look at more narrow-mindedly when I was younger, such as the idea of teach men not to rape. I kind of have more of a better understanding of what it actually means. I regrettably used to agree with Nate Talks to use feminist logic fails, but seeing people actually respond to Nate's video and bring up holes in his arguments, it honestly did make me consider that maybe they're really not that good. Which obviously resulted in Nate blocking me for criticizing his feminist logic fail number 4 in a live show, because Nate's a fucking bitch. But overall, I would say the most that's really changed is that I've become a bit more enlightened in certain subjects and become a lot more well-researched. There was not really a point of calling myself an anti-feminist if I really knew nothing about feminism to be against it. And one of the things that also helped me see feminism in a bit of a more positive light was honestly seeing close friends turning to feminism and seeing that it doesn't take being a crazy radical to hold the value. Not that I felt like all feminists were just radical feminist SJWs, but seeing more reasonable ones and seeing that you could identify as a feminist made it a lot more comfortable for me to understand the label. But I feel like personally, 2017 was really the changing year for me, mainly just because I actually looked into feminism a lot more than I actually looked into it when I was younger. So even though I agreed with it when I was younger, I still felt it was unfair for me to call myself a feminist if I really had such a broad understanding of it. Paper Picks, are you actually going to do this Q&A, you lumpy fuck? I don't know, maybe if I have time. Age, sex, location. I'm 17, I'm a boy, and I live in England. Who's your favourite predator on To Catch a Predator? I don't remember the episode and I don't remember where to find it, but I like the one who was just completely honest. That made me absolutely laugh. Because you know, in every case, a pedophile isn't just going to flat out admit it, but then when you see one actually do, it is quite surprising to see. Heather the terrorist slut evil monster asks, what are a list of pet peeves that you have that other people do? I would say a lot of pet peeves usually stem more in real life than on the internet, but I feel like people who are like really flamboyant can get on my nerves. I feel like people that can be disruptive can get on my nerves. Or dismissive. Also, what's your favourite food to eat when you're high? Pringles, to be honest. I don't know, I tend to snack out a lot when I'm high. The Frost Review asks, my only question is this, and it's a big universal life-altering question. Why? I don't know, why not? Waymu asks, what's the most surprising thing that's happened to you in terms of internet things? Honestly, I'm not really sure. I don't really have one off the top of my head. Honestly, it'd be like picking out of a hat. I guess in terms of this year, I would definitely say the MDA situation is quite a prominent one. While I'm not trying to take credit here, since massive shout out to Marbles for actually being the one who stepped forward about it, and not Mr. Epsilon, who didn't do shit about it. But I would say I did have some sort of an involvement, given the fact that I was related to a victim of MDA, and given the fact that I had spoken to other victims as well, which made me realise, holy shit, they've went through the exact same experience as my mother did, without me having to tell them. And then I realised it was nothing more than Photoshop, and anyways, that's my Q&A. Thank you to everyone for asking me questions. It's been fun answering them, so I hope everyone's had a fun time hearing my answers. And take care and goodbye.